This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 online art school in the entire world. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy.
I am deep in the annals of your mind. I am deep in the annals of your...
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about, does Outrage work on you anymore?
But before we get into it, make sure to touch, jingle, flick all our bells and buttons for the engagement.
Touch those buttons. It's September, everybody.
Wow,
we
fall.
made it. You know, there's a lot of swamp butt. I know there are a lot of uncomfortable days for some people where you're just like, I just want to take a shower. But now our butts will be cool. And I want to feel like I miss the summer again. I'm kind of over it.
Yes, I am worn out by the summer. You look great in your new fall attire. I know some women out there like to decorate and dress for fall immediately when September hits. So in your fall boots and your scarves and your turtlenecks, and the colorful leaves are changing.
Oh, it's fun. I love it. Yeah. So Janet, why are we talking about this?
We are talking about this because Tim Pool's music video came out and we reacted to it.
We did? No, we didn't.
Well,
in
private, yeah. And I had a really fascinating experience reacting to it, partly because of other people's reactions to it. If you don't know who Tim Pool is, he is a YouTuber, political commentator on the platform, has a few million subscribers across all the different platforms that he posts on, and he wanted to get into culture and making culture. So instead of just commentating and reacting, he wanted to do something. So he was like, I think 2 years ago, he was like, I want to make music. I want to make films. I want to make music. I want to do something instead of just complain about it on the internet. So he finally released a music video. It's kind of weird for a YouTuber who's known for news commentating to suddenly go into music producing and trying to do that kind of thing. Or is it? But so I was really happy for him. I don't agree with his opinions on the news all the time, but I'm happy anyone decides to try and successfully make a piece of art. I think that's really cool.
It's a miracle a piece of art is made.
Yeah.
At any given day of any given time.
Yeah.
When's the last time you've listened to something unsanctioned by somebody or trying to impress somebody?
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Were you put off by it? Were you happy? How did you feel about it?
When it first came out, I was pretty happy, and first I was curious. I was like, the competitive side to me, I'm like, anytime anyone makes any kind of art, I'm very unnecessarily competitive. So I was like, let's see what he's got. This news guy doing the bare minimum, probably. But my expectations were like low, which yours should be too if I'm making music, because I don't know how to do any of this. I am not a musician. Musicians study all their lives just to do this. I did that for drawing and painting.
And musicians sit in the room
yeah.
all day long
and do that
and make it happen somehow.
So my attempts at making anything other than drawings and paintings should always be you should have your very low standards. And I have the same kind of low standards for other people who are trying something new. They're trying something new, whatever. But I was very curious. I see it, and I'm like, hey, look at that. It sounds produced. It is a music video that honestly, a lot of people, if they tried to do the same thing, would fail completely, because you don't know, like, from anyone who doesn't even know how to make a music video to making a music video, pretty cool. Not my cup of tea, not like the music.
I didn't grow up with this, man. It's like something that would come out in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, man.
Yes, and
come
that's
on,
the
man.
problem.
Oh, come on, man. It's nostalgic. It's like, it's like Force Awakens.
I have no problem with nostalgia. I have a problem with nostalgia without doing anything different now, because we did that. Like, our art teachers would always say, we did that, but like, it's fine to reference that, but what can you personally bring to the table? That was my problem with it. I was just like, brings me back to my teenage days in a not great way. But I was really happy that it exists. Like, to make a convincing 2000s music video and song is cool.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah.
The fact that it exists is an accomplishment. I feel that way about any type of film, any type of crazy art that requires a team just to make. And the fact that you don't know what you're doing most of the time.
I really love it when creators do this shit.
Yeah.
I love because it's so fucking like badass.
Yeah,
because it's like there's a lot of people super afraid. A lot you could probably think in your head on the internet right now. Super afraid to like make something because they're afraid of the reception or how their fans would feel about it. Being vulnerable. A lot of creators just want to be known for doing the one thing and doing it over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. But when someone feels so bold as to make a piece of music or to paint something or like to make a little...
To have the gall to do something and then shove it in your face and be like, look at it. I know it's mediocre, but look at it. I did it. And,
Man, it's all in the eye of the beholder, or I guess in the ear of the listener, I guess. Whatever. If you're into it, you're into it. Whatever. If he's into it, he's into it. Whatever. Honestly, like like I said before, like when do we have honest attempts at making stuff?
Yeah.
Almost never.
We all start out bad to mediocre at something. And it's having the audacity and the courage to be like, but it's not. Even if it's, you kind of have to be slightly delusional to make art. Like, that's the point. Like, if you're not that delusional and egotistical, or to have the audacity to make something like this, even though you're not whatever, an artist, whatever, like, that's the only way you get good.
Yeah, and then when you're in it, when you're really in it, I'm sure as Tim was making this thing, there's a lot of times where you have doubt. And you have to like push through those feelings, and then that people are probably going to react to this. People who like you will like you no matter what. They're like your family. It's like you show them something that you made, and because they like you, they go, "Oh, this is great." But then there are people who want to take a shit on you just for the sport of it all. And I'm sure he's thinking about all that stuff. But then to just like put yourself out there and go like, fuck it. Yeah. I'll just make the thing anyway. Is the kind of like gun us and stuff that you just don't see from a lot of creators these days. Yeah. They just want to stay in their lane most of the time.
And I think it's I said that, like, is it totally unexpected? Maybe not, because like you look at someone like Logan or Jake Paul, I think it was Jake Paul, that went into boxing. And
we all laughed at him.
Yeah.
UFC.
Yeah.
And then we all laughed. Was it boxing, actually?
I think it was boxing, yeah.
We all laughed at him. Everybody laughed at him.
We thought it was some gimmick. We all were like,
is this like the Forest thing all over? And
yeah.
It's kind of, whatever.
And everyone was like, let's look at it just to see, because a lot of people genuinely were like, I just want to see his face getting beaten. Like, I don't like him, and like, what is this? Well, whatever, it's entertainment. I want to see him get beat up. He probably doesn't even box or exercise or whatever. But turns out he really does care about this thing, and he's actually really good. Yeah. And there are a lot of YouTubers actually in makeup, in DIY, in lifestyle who end up making like diss tracks and music videos just because they want to. There's I forgot the makeup guru. I think her name was Pony, but I'm not sure. She, I think, is Korean or some kind of Asian, but like
It's very descriptive in the makeup realm.
she's kind of like I think Pony's the biggest Korean YouTuber, makeup artist. But she randomly wanted to make a K-pop video.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So she looks like she's in like SM Entertainment, and like she's doing the whole girl group thing, and like it's because she has so much money. It looks really good. The music was not so good, but I was like, hey, you want to do that? Probably all your life you wanted to you looked up to these K-pop stars, and you're like, you know what? I have the money. I'm gonna star in my own K-pop music video. Why not? Yeah. Why not? And I thought that was neat too. So it's becoming more and more normal where content creators, YouTubers, even TikTokers are going into things outside of their specific niche. And I am here for that. I'm really excited to see people be not two-dimensional creators and being just like, oh yeah, I teach you how to draw, and that's all I do. We're human. We're interested in a lot more things other than that. I think people are becoming more and more receptive with people changing it up and just being like, I want to do something new. Of course, you'll probably be like Jake Paul or Logan Paul, I forget whichever one did the boxing thing, being laughed at first and being clowned on until you actually fight a legit boxer and you beat him, and then people are like, no way, and then they become like your fans.
Yeah, you're a joke until you're not a joke.
Right. So.
And everybody. Think of comedians. They're not, they don't say things that make people laugh. Usually they start off being laughed at.
Exactly. Yes.
But eventually you work through it, and the ones that can deal with the pressure and the scrutiny make it to the top. And the ones who could tell the best jokes and tell the best stories. And so this video came out that Tim made,
yes.
And the internet went ablaze.
Twitter specifically.
Twitter.
Yeah. I
guess, the small portion of Twitter.
Yes.
News Twitter went ablaze. But still, it had a lot of listens, right?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it garnered a lot of publicity, whether good or bad. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting to see a creator known for something else, and to see how when they make art, how it affects the market, disrupts the market.
Right.
Some people would say.
Yeah.
And I think I'm like you said, I'm all here for that stuff. And I love it when people do that, because it's so unexpected. And there's a lot of people, I bet just so many creators who are just like, oh, I just want to do something like that. I just want to do something like that, but I could never.
Right, yeah.
But then it's the people who have the audacity to be like, oh no, but I want to though. Yeah. No matter how it looks, that I'm just like, badass, man.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
You had no rhyme or reason other than you wanted to. And you wanted to, because of all the things people want in life, to make art is like the least offensive, harmful thing to do.
And to truly have the desire to make art is like, I feel like felt by not a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people in the back of that want to be famous,
want
to be known, want to develop their legacy.
Yeah.
But there's just like very few people who are just like, I have an idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So just for the fun of it.
Yeah, no matter how it looks, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's all fine and good. I don't know why, but that was my expectation for how other people were going to react to it. But boy, was that not the case? Other people's reaction to it, like you said, like diehard fans of his will love it no matter what, even if we're bad. Like they'll sing your praises, whatever. But the majority of people,
just simply the novelty of just seeing the person that they watch tell them the news, sing like a song is like, whoa, look at that.
Yeah. You know? But the majority of people reacting to it on Twitter was just absurdly angry. at a dumb 2000s song that has nothing to do with politics, by the way. I forgot to say. It's kind of like a typical, like, 2000s, the aughts kind of punk rock song. That's it. And people were so mad. They were so mad. One comment that made me laugh was someone was singing Tim's praises. They were like, oh my god, this song is so good. I have it on repeat, something like that. And then under it, someone else responded to this person and was like, are you kidding me? This song is barely okay, like barely passable, like barely listenable, something like that. And I was like, oh, damn. Like, that's harsh. And I'm not necessarily sure it's
Yeah,
true.
I would say harsh and not even true.
Yeah.
So you're just being mean.
Yeah, you're, at a certain point, that just sounds like they're being mean. And then this person was like, the person they were responding to was like, okay, let's see you do better then. And then the person being mean was like, I can't. I just know what good music sounds like, and this is not it. And I was like, as a creative person, I don't understand the audacity and the confidence of a person who knows nothing, pretending like they do know something. Because I'm like, you probably don't know how to play guitar. You don't, not only that, you don't even know how to form a chord with your fingers. Not only that, even if you tried, you probably couldn't because it hurts too much. And you had the audacity to be like, well, I just have good music taste, is what this person was saying.
I listened to Anthony Fantano for 5 years. I know what good music is.
I just don't understand. But like, this person just doesn't understand how dumb they sound or look or whatever, because but then the thing is, it was just filled with comments like that, like, oh, it's so bad, oh, and it's so bad to the point where you sound like you're lying, you sound like you're exaggerating, because then I'm forced to go like, it's not that bad. it's not your taste, it reminds you of the 2000s, yes, but
You're not mentioning any of these criticisms.
Yeah, you're just saying
it's bad.
it's awful. Yeah. Like, oh, the voice is awful, the guitar play. What gets me is when people say the mastering is awful, as if you know how to master, as if you know. Oh, I was like, now you're trying, like, there. I've noticed these troll comments. Like, certain trolls like to pretend like they're experts. Like, oh, what gets me in the comments is when people go like, well, I know something because I'm actually a doctor. And then I'm like, you're a 15-year-old. No doctor has to be like, I'm actually a doctor and you should take my comment seriously. I go like, who knows? None of us actually know. You can be catfishing the entire internet. I don't know. But okay, sure. And so, like, some troll comments like to be kind of sort of specific, but if you actually know what you're talking about, they're not specific at all. And then they're like, to pretend like they're not a 12-year-old who's pretending like they have any kind of authority to say anything about anything. So I was looking at this and getting annoyed and upset for Tim. Even, like, I was like, you guys don't understand the amount of vulnerability and the if you don't have the ego, the bravery it takes to put something that you made, no matter what it is that you made, on the internet for everyone to, and especially when we have millions of people and millions of haters probably,
and go, hey everybody, look what I made.
Yeah, like, it's hard, whether it's good or not, it's hard. And like, the amount of unwarranted anger directed was so weird to me, and I was like, what if, because this is not real. This is not real whatsoever. It's either these people want to hate on it just to hate on it because they're his haters, but I was like, looking through some of them, I'm like, no, these are just music enthusiasts who have this unnecessary hate towards this thing they don't know anything about. And I was like, what is this? And then you had this amazing theory.
My theory is that it's
Hold on. I need to bring
no.
out the tinfoil hat.
It's sucking me into my head. If you are listening, well, most people should be able to watch right now, but like, I have a tinfoil hat on my head. This is the first time. I've always wanted to do this, but this is the first time I actually remembered to do this. So yes, So here's my thing. And I'll base this off of how it's like this.
Other side.
There you
go. If it fits.
I'll base it off of how things are in Hollywood. So people who look out for talent, there's a lot of them, and there's one for probably each studio. And what they're looking for is, someone who's enthusiastic, who's, who has the good look, who has a, appealing blah 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 that represents the studio. And then when they find somebody, what do they get? What do these recruiters get?
They get paid.
They get paid.
Yeah.
So it behooves a lot of people. Oh, I'm wearing the tin hat. It behooves people who are in charge for talent agencies for labels or the music industry to seek out people, because these are the people they want to prop up and then basically make money off of. Like every story is old as time. Creedence Clearwater. Everyone. Straight Outta Compton is basically a movie about that. Or
like the Beatles, Nirvana, they get like noticed by some producer, and then they get signed to a record label, and then they work for the man. When you explain your conspiracy theory to me, your psyop theory about the music industry, it was hard for me to understand. So I will try to
explain it.
Yeah, because I make analogies. So we recently watched the Lil Baby documentary on Amazon because it was free. Lil Baby is a rapper, if you haven't heard of him, and he has this doc on Amazon. Typical music doc. It highlights, like the Katy Perry doc, it highlights the musician, goes through a certain length of time, and really kind of sells their brand image. Lil Baby, like most mainstream artists, musicians, are managed by a record label. I'm pretty sure the record label is the one who produces these docs for these musicians. I don't think the musicians have any say in any of that. I think it's just promotion for their album. Or
you don't think Lil Baby went and go like, "Hey team, we're gonna make a doc about me"?
No. Even when they make it seem like the artist had that kind of artistic control, for example, Olivia Rodrigo's Disney doc, they don't, for the most part. It's the label. So you see Lil Baby, his story, the story that they want to sell to you is that he's like from the ghetto, he didn't have much, he was just like he was a drug dealer, and he had no business being a rapper.
Had no interest in it at all.
Yeah, so their talent scouters, the owners of this record label, discovers him and his friend and trains him up from zero. Like, he's bad at rapping, he doesn't know what he's doing, has no flow, whatever. Trains these two up to be performers. He takes off and he becomes Lil Baby, basically. He becomes this big up-and-coming rapper. And unfortunately, his buddy, who came up with him, basically, passed away. But it was also, I hate to say it, kind of convenient for the label because he wasn't going anywhere in his music compared to Lil Baby. And so I was, that's kind of what happens. Like, it seems like in entertainment, period, whether you're an artist who wants to work for animation,
an actor,
yeah, if you're a pop star, rapper, whatever, the way it works is these big giant corporations, these companies that kind of sort of know what they're doing, they'll go to a place where they know you're hungry and easy to mold into whatever they need you to be. And they're not going to put all their eggs in one basket. No, they're going to have like 10 baskets going. They're going to have like 10 different people, and they're crossing their fingers that one of them, at least one of them, are going to get good enough where they can profit off of you. Once you are their meal ticket. You listen to any Backstreet Boys, any
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears, any talent. Even Jeanette McCurdy, her book came out about how she hates her mother. She became a YouTuber now, I think. But she was the actress in iCarly. Recently came out with a book about the industry, and even as an actress, she is her mother's meal ticket. She is the industry's meal ticket until Ariana Grande takes over the world and no one cares about you. It's every single entertainment industry is like this. And to pretend like it's not, like animation likes to do all the time, is lying.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. I say all this mostly to say Lil Baby looks like he's being held captive in the entire documentary. He doesn't want to be there. He has no enthusiasm. He never even wanted to be a rapper because he was making more money as a drug dealer. I was like, the whole time, by the end of it, I was like, blink twice if you need to be saved, Lil Baby. Like, I'm sorry, your record label has you, like, chained to them in the way that they do, and it's really, really sad to see someone, in my opinion, get manipulated so hard by an industry. There's at the end, I don't think any of you are gonna watch it, but like at the end of the doc, near the end, they're having this big moment with the Grammys. He had like the #1 best-selling album of the year or something in 2020, and he got snubbed, as the people of the doc want you to believe. And they were like, we're so mad we got snubbed.
No, these are the record label.
Yeah, the record label, basically. Yeah. And we're so mad. You know what? They want us to perform. No, we're not going to do that for them. They snubbed us. And then, surprisingly, because Lil Baby is not portrayed as the most emotionally mature person, that's part of his character, he was like, I don't really care about the award. I don't really care about the Grammy. But this opportunity to perform at the Grammys sounds pretty cool. And I was like, how are you the voice of reason right now? And then that moment made me go like, oh, you gross record label people who haven't, like, blowing smoke up your own ass, blowing smoke up his ass, and when, like, somehow, out of all of that, he's somehow remained sane, or as sane as he could be, not entirely egotistical, and being like, whatever. But it'd be, like, how many people would kill to be able to perform at the Grammys right now? Like, this is kind of, like, weird that you guys are so mad.
I'm just like, that's the spirit. What are these two complaining about? Like, jeez.
And that is what record labels, entertainment companies want to be able to do.
On one side you have Tim Pool,
right,
coming out with his, pet, his pet project music, his, his little project passion thing. Right. And then you have what the, typical, what we know as the machine, the music industry comes out with, turns out, which is something like Lil Baby, And then you compare the two and you look at, like, well, I mean, like, I just feel like I don't know, for whatever reason, his label, Lil Baby's label, really wanted him to win that Grammy. I'm like, he has, I think, a ways to go. He could really, like, be somebody with a presence and, like, one day, but like, that's one day.
Yeah, and oh god, okay, this is my personal gripe with the doc. They kept saying things like, black people are always snubbed by the Grammys, all this stuff, and then I was like, you're really good at this gaslighting thing, but you're pretending like other great black artists have never exist before Lil Baby. Like, you're pretending Michael Jackson didn't exist, you're pretending Prince didn't exist, you're pretending Kendrick Lamar didn't exist. I was just like, Beyonce, I was Jay-Z, Kanye, I was like, what is going on? What is happening? And I was just like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. And then, anyways, you were basically saying, the machine, the industry goes directly against people like Tim Pool.
They don't like that, man. I don't think they like that.
No.
Because they're like basically how our industry looks at you.
Right. So what basically people like Tim Pool have shown is that we don't need you. We don't need the machine. We don't want to join you.
And you're not going to get a piece of us,
You're never,
which is the worst part.
Exactly. We're going to take our own little piece of the pie, which means the way they think, there's less pie for me. So then this is completely different from them looking at, let's say, a Ty Verdes who needs them, who wants them actually, like an up-and-coming indie artist wants to get noticed and wants, in a weird way, the industry to take advantage of them.
And they'll play the game. They'll do the thing.
They will play the game. People like Tim Pool, people like King Gizzard, like true, like in this day and age, creators are all realizing that we don't necessarily need the machine. We are the machine. You can become a media company in your own right as a singular human being. You can put out TikToks on your own. You can, through Logic, you can make and master and produce your own music. Before, you needed thousands of dollars and a production studio to be able to do that. Yeah. There are gatekeepers to keep you from publishing an album and stuff like that. So at a certain point, you used to have to work for the man. You had to get noticed by a talent scout. Now, apparently, talent scouts aren't even a job anymore in the music industry, because what they're doing is they're just social media managers, and they'll discover someone like a Ty Verdes and being like, hey, he has like millions of hits on this random single demo that he made. Let's sign him. Yeah. We don't have to do anything. He takes care of the promotion, the everything. We don't even need to pay a talent scout because we discovered him, and we'll own him. I've been listening to Walden by Henry David Thoreau. It's basically a cabin life book. If you want that slow living lifestyle and want to learn about it, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast to get a free audiobook. There's podcasts, there's self-help, there's so much. That's audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast.
But what happens when, because these people are probably looking all over, scouring, let's say, TikTok. What happens when these people find somebody like Tim Pool's video?
They know someone like Tim Pool will never want to work with them. In fact, he's competition. Apparently his song reached number 2 on the iTunes charts under Britney Spears and Elton John's song, which is pretty crazy.
And then the industry needed that. The music industry needed that. And they needed a big old kumbaya of the generations to ground them, what people like. Oh, why not our icon Britney Spears and our parents' icon Elton John? Have them make a song together. But that entire plan was thwarted.
Right.
By Tim's song.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, man, but I would not be surprised that the machine that is entertainment would do some kind of psyop conspiracy to keep down genuine indie effort, and by sending people to attack you in a way that seems really disingenuous. To be like, oh, this is awful. Tell that, but then why is it number 2? Clearly someone bought it and liked it and streamed it.
Yeah, and if you're into politics, how absurd is this idea we're pitching you when you know that they demoralize you? That's one of their plans. Right before an election, they want to, beat you over a club with whatever issue. It doesn't matter what it is, and they don't want you to vote, or they don't want you to be passionate about your candidate or whatever it is. This is everywhere.
Right. And so, you told me this, and it sounds crazy, right?
I was like, that meme from, I think, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I was like, because these people in the music industry, I think they're slightly smarter than the Hollywood people, but still, they're not much smarter.
Yeah, so, I was inclined to believe it only because of my past experience. So, if this only happening to Tim's music video, then I would have been like, I don't know, it's probably just a lot of hate or something, I don't know. But I've seen it happen time and time again fairly recently, since the ability or the trend of all these people coming out with their own thing and doing it 100% independently by themselves. So the first example I wanted to point out is we have this friend connection that we made over on TikTok really early on. This creator named Chunky is Dead. So she is kind of like a comedian. We hired her to wear some of our merch back in the day when she was like just starting. Like we were both blowing up on TikTok around the same time. Now she's like doing Comedy Central, all this stuff, but like in the growth stages of her brand, she started doing joke comedy songs, just about being hot, about being a bad influence. So one of her songs is about how she likes to do drugs and all sorts of different types of substances and different ways of doing it.
Is it a joke or is it satire? Is it real? We will never know. That's part of it.
That's the comedy part of it. It's so obviously a comedy song. It's not super well produced on purpose. It doesn't have great lyrics. It's comedic lyrics. It's obviously a joke, okay? For whatever reason, TikTok got it and started canceling her. A lot of people started being like, you know, I had a family member that OD'd. This isn't a joke. This isn't like, wow, what a great influence. Sarcastically. I'm like, when has she ever portrayed herself as a good influence? This song is so obviously a joke.
People OD every other season in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, and you don't care. Okay?
You don't care. Come on.
People OD every day and you don't care. Suddenly you care because someone made a song about it. Okay. And then, so there's that. Then there's like Mr. Girl. He's controversial to begin with, but like he started making rap music and it was doing really, really, really well because everyone knew it was a joke. Or the dissonance of not knowing, is it a joke?
Because the more serious you can take it, the more I think fun it is to partake in the thing.
Yeah.
Because he's so for real about it. Mm-hmm. In a way that Tim was like trying to be like, oh, I'm really for real about making this vision of mine come true.
Right.
So my favorite music come to life.
The interesting part with Mr. Girl's situation, people were trying to cancel him again when he came out with his first rap song called I Am a P Word. And I saw in the comments people were like, wow, you're outing yourself. But then people would comment on that comment and be like, wow, imagine being so dumb you can't take the joke. You don't get the joke. So like, in a weird way, him making fun of himself so hard got a lot of people on his side to be like, wow, you're really... to be annoyed at the people who were canceling him. But there was an effort. Still is, I think. There's my joke rap song. Like...
joke rap song.
If you go into the comments, I was replying to people at like seriously, like as a joke, okay? Like, no, I do not believe I am actually a good rapper. That's the fucking joke. Like, but someone's like, wow, this is so good. I'm like, yeah, I practiced for like a month, like just to be able to do it. Or like, oh yeah, I'd love to work with like Playboy Cardi or something. Like, of course I'm never gonna work with like, and then people were like taking me so seriously, and I was like, are you dumb? I'm genuinely asking, like, did my joke go over your head? Like, I clearly, it is like an Austin Powers-esque kind of like joke song. But people were like so mad, unnecessarily mad at someone who was making fun of herself. So this keeps happening to everyone who appears like they don't need you, who appears like they
don't need the music industry.
Yeah, that they will never join you or whatever. Because what's interesting is once Melissa, that's Chunky is Dead. What's interesting is when Chunky is Dead joined management, when she got an agent, all of it stopped immediately.
All of the art stopped.
No, the hate stuff.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, is it a conspiracy? Is it a psyop, or what is it? Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. But like you said, when you're like, the music industry is exactly like the animation industry, and then I started thinking, I was like, which means they're not that bright. They're not that. To give them credit for a psyop or a conspiracy means that they're somewhat able to collaborate with each other, and they're kind
Or
of
a bunch of bots.
yeah.
Bunch of bots.
Or yeah. But like it means that they have forethought. It means that they're that devious, that evil genius. And I'm like, they're not that smart. I think it's easier to think it's just the modern day throwing of the tomatoes at the entertainer.
What do you mean?
You said this.
Oh, yes, I said
actually.
yes.
So what did you mean?
I meant that, like, everyone starts off being laughed at for playing punk rock or, having long hair and, eyeshadow and playing The Cure or Tears for Fears, because everyone's used to, heavy metal. Everyone, every new generation's going against the grain. And like, you're laughed at. You're like, I think one of the great ironies I remember reading about Kurt Cobain was discovering that he made this music for people like him, the outcasts. And then as soon as he became famous, all the jocks that would bully him and beat him up were all of a sudden singing Smells Like Teen Spirit. And it's just like, you're laughed at, you're picked on, you're bullied, you're beaten down until all of a sudden you're famous.
Right.
That's
just part of it.
It's just part of it.
It's something.
And it's going to look different throughout whatever generation. I could imagine the minstrels of yore getting thrown carrots and rotten tomatoes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Goat shit at them.
I thought
You're all fucking off the stage.
That type of thing.
I thought about it, and I realized that, man, I've experienced my fair share of it. Tim is definitely all these people seem like no matter how strong you are, it does affect you, and you don't want to admit it because you don't want to show your haters that you have any kind of weakness. But I realized when I thought about people like Joe Rogan and comedians, I'm like, man, they have it. If musicians have it hard, being vulnerable with their music and performing in front of you and then being laughed off stage, comedians have it hard because one, they're not even good looking. Two, they bomb until they don't.
Yeah.
And it's so, oh God, I don't think I could ever do it to go up on stage night after night and just bomb and just to have people.
It's like holding your arm over a fire.
Yeah.
Like, people will appreciate my art someday. Ah!
And then people really, they laugh at you and they think you're awful and think you, and probably you just have the worst days when you're first starting. But then one day you become like Joe Rogan. And it happens all of the sudden, every time you hear of like a new comedian coming up, it's like they get laughed off stage until suddenly one day, like you're playing in front of a crowd and then they love you.
And you sing along to the song.
Yeah. Or something like, yeah. And I think that's what defines a good artist. That's what defines a good creative person. We're all like, I was laughed at for my art since as early as I can remember. A lot of people.
Your drawing sucks.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people get into art mostly because it was the one good, talented thing that they could do, and they had really supportive people around them because they're like, oh, I can't do that. I grew up in a weird society where everyone was excellent at everything. So when you're fairly, even above average at something, you're still not really celebrated at all. So I truly I would get laughed at for my art. There were a lot of elitist assholes growing up in middle school even that would look at my art and be like, what is that? And then I stuck with it. And I remember my best friend asked me, like, why did... Like, it's kind of amazing that you kept going with it and then you ended up working at Disney. And I'm like, yeah, because I... And she was like, why'd you do that? And I was like, because I liked it. Because there was nothing anyone was going to say to me that would make me stop drawing. And that's the thing, like that is what artists are. And I think that's truly, if you have the gall to do it and you can withstand the tomato throwing, then of course you're gonna do it.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage, you
Yeah.
know? It's like
You're
you're
gonna make it.
being thrown at with all sorts of shit until they're throwing roses at you all of a sudden.
Right.
But you know, if you, it's I guess what makes or breaks people.
Yeah.
At least the ones that aren't manufacturers, that like they go through the fire, and then all of a sudden they have a audience. And these days, people want to make it as big as Harry Styles or Justin Bieber or whoever. But I'm seeing a lot of people garner a huge fan base on their own without the industry.
Right.
And it's amazing. It's the most amazing thing to see, because these are like legit fans who love you, love the music, and are not in it because, you were in front of a magazine or, your TikTok has like a million views. So
what I noticed with the whole Tim Pool music video fiasco is that the faux outrage that people were directing towards him and his music didn't last as long as it typically does. Because I'm used to seeing it happen to our TikTok friends, to all types of content creators. I was like, this lasts for a while. Like, the amount of hate I would get every time I would do anything out of my own lane, which is draw or just whatever, literally speak about anything sometimes. People would get, like, it would last for, I would say, anywhere between a month to 3 months, depending on how big the amount of hate is. And the hate would work. The outrage would work. If someone was pretending to be mad at me for calling someone out on Instagram or something, they would go in the comments for months of my videos and be like, Janet's an awful human being. She did this.
She does coke.
Yeah. And then new viewers would comment and go like, oh, I didn't know that. Thank you so much. I won't support someone like that. So like the outrage would work. And if you think about the past few years, even with things like in the news, the outrage works. The cancellation was a thing for a reason. It worked. People got companies to like cancel people or to do so much just because they were mad at them. But I was noticing, like, the fact that Tim was still able to get to number 2 in the iTunes charts, and people, all our friends that have gotten canceled or whatever, are still able to have careers now, and like people just canceling and outrage isn't really working anymore.
Why do you think that is? Why don't you think the psyop is as strong?
I think it's because, one, obviously the economy. When you're struggling so hard with real issues, you can't afford gas, you can't afford groceries, or you can barely afford it, and you're just trying, you are expending so much energy just trying to survive. You don't have that much energy to care about whatever the machine wants you to care about anymore. Whatever news of the day they want you to be mad at, or whatever person they want you to be mad at. You just don't care. You're like, whatever. They can be off doing their outrageous, angry, and anger-inducing thing. I'm just trying to buy gas, man. Like, I just don't care. And to me, this is all theory, but I'm noticing it on TikTok that the outrage culture, the faux outrage culture, and the cancel culture is starting to wane. So I have 2 examples. One, I saw this TikTok about this Asian dude. He was describing it, like asking people of TikTok, do you notice a difference between how Asians are perceived attractive depending on which part of the United States you live in. So like people, West Coast Asians will chime in on how there's so many of us, no one really cares. And then New York Asians will be like, yeah, for whatever reason, everyone thinks we're like really attractive. And then Midwest Asians will be like, everyone hates our look. they no one even really looks at us. We feel ignored. And there was a response to this TikTok and the comment section of that TikTok saying like, you know, we wouldn't have been able to talk about this subject in this kind of tame way a few years ago. The fact that people aren't making it a race thing, and the fact that people aren't being like kind of weird and in the comments about it, people are just going like, oh yeah, I noticed a difference, and being very polite about it. We literally could it like, how is it, he said it's really refreshing that we were able to even talk about this, because no, we would not have been able to talk about this a few years ago. Yeah. And then another example is this girl, she has this really New York sounding accent. She's not black. She's either white or just not black. And she's talking in this really New Yorker accent about something. It wasn't anything. And then someone responded to it, basically trying to cancel her and being like, why are you doing a black accent? And she was basically trying to get the entire black community on TikTok to go attack this woman. And then this actual black creator responded to that person and was like, can you not? I'm from New York and I'm black, okay? This person doesn't have a black accent. They have a New Yorker accent, okay? And also, maybe an unpopular opinion, but there's this thing called the chameleon effect. It's an actual thing. And when people are around a lot of like a certain kind of people or a certain kind of way of speaking, they will accidentally, not on purpose, adopt that way of speaking. So she was like, we should have some forgiveness. Not a lot, but some for people. But also, you're not black, and maybe black people who I would actually know, if this person is doing a black accent, should be calling people out on this stuff and stuff like that. And the fact that this video could exist, I thought was like, this is a level of nuance that we wouldn't have been able to have literally a few years ago, where everyone was calling everyone out on having a black accent. And I was like, things are changing. Outrage, I don't think is working so well anymore, whether manufactured or not. Whether like this woman wanted to get clout for canceling someone, or these companies want to get clout for canceling someone, or whatever is happening, people just aren't responding to it anymore. And I was thinking that might be really good, because what happens when outrage doesn't work anymore? Then what? What is the result of that? And I think meritocracy, for one.
You really think so?
Yeah. At least I want to believe it. I want to believe that like people will be applauded for doing things and not so much canceled just for doing things, if that makes any sense. And I also think a really, really big part of all this is the commentary community, whether it's people reacting in magazines or literally the commentary community on YouTube, is going to change. Because right now, it's like a sport. There are teams of people who might be for the Lord of the Rings new TV series or not for it. And everyone sits
for the She-Hulk, not for the She-Hulk.
Yeah. And everyone sits in their own little camp, and they double down, whether real or fake, for the views. So, in my opinion, we watched the Lord of the Rings new series. It's not great, but it's not awful either, the way I'm hearing about it in the commentary YouTube React community. And I go like, It's actually, everyone was complaining about how their costumes look awful in the production photos that got leaked and stuff like that. And I was like, as far as CGI and that kind of thing, it's not She-Hulk bad.
That's true.
At the very least,
not
like it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not
very
good
bad. It's
either.
very
It's not
I'd
good.
give it a 4.
Yeah, it's
What would you give it? The first 2 episodes.
around like 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah, it's no
It's
good.
not good.
It's no good, guys.
But so I'm realizing like the people are getting applauded for hating on something. And that's outrage culture for you. That's faux outrage culture. And I'm sure people will be applauded for liking it on the other side. If you're in that camp. And I think as this outrage culture changes to like, instead of hate, like the point of it is to hate the other side, to hate the other team. It's not to actually like something. I think it's going to change to more honest reviews, to more just honesty in general, which I am really here for. Do you think so? Or do you think this... Yeah, it's crazy. That's never gonna happen.
I think there are people who will understand that if they started out, taking a crap on Force Awakens, now they're like, well, I need to think about longevity now. I have this audience, maybe I should, start a coffee company. Also, we're thinking about reaching out to a new sponsor too. I don't know, coffee or tea. I don't know how you feel about peddling coffee or tea. It sounds kind of fun.
Yeah.
But, some creators are figuring out how to diversify what they do, and some people are still like taking a shit on She-Hulk, which is fine. It's all fun and games. It's all cool. We are approaching the expiration date, but it hasn't expired yet. But people are already thinking about, when it grows out of fashion to take a shit on Disney because they're beaten to submission. They're not even releasing movies anymore.
Right, yeah.
Well, what are they going to do now? And like for me, I think that people who are talented or business savvy enough will make moves.
Yeah.
And the people who don't won't. And I think my biggest wish is people take it a step further. Because I was listening to Razor Fist, Arizona's Razor Fist, and apparently he helps produce or is involved with making comics or helping out with his friends making comics, helping out somebody make comics, and that's something.
Right.
Sticks, Hex and Hammer makes books.
Yes.
You gotta do something because times are changing, and I personally am into people who not only will make coffee, not only will release a book or a comic, but who will go as far and compete with media,
Right.
with big media, like movies, shorts, music.
Right. Because
that's hard.
yeah,
And they really, I don't think they really don't want you to do.
They really don't want you to do it. They don't want you to do it.
they don't. I'm realizing then what is the faux outrage culture? It's basically the react culture. And what's the problem with react culture, in my opinion? The problem with the past, almost 10 years now, is that if you're reacting to something all the time, whether hateful or good, whatever, nothing's being made. Entire careers were made during this period of time. People made a lot of money and got really famous on just reacting to other people's art. And it became super dangerous to even make art when you're just getting canceled left and right for it. Now that this react culture is waning, it becomes really you have so much incentive to actually make shit now. And when we're seeing people start coffee companies and make comics and make music videos and actually make something for once instead of just
taking a shit on something.
Yeah, reacting
which
to
is
something.
fun, but anybody could do that. We could do
Yeah.
that. Come on.
We do this.
A 14-year-old
yeah.
could do that. Yeah, it's fun. You know?
But when the market for that is waning and fewer people want to watch you shit on Disney and want to watch you do whatever, then what? Then you have to actually have ideas and actually be capable of doing something of value rather than just sit there and hate on someone or something.
Because at the end of the day, you're still a spectator.
Right.
You're just, regurgitating what we already know exists. We need things that challenge what exists today, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. What are we recommending?
I feel really at home with this
Oh my
little
God.
hat, man. We are recommending Call Me Chato. It's a YouTube channel. He is a former network executive. There you go. So if you think that we exaggerate with how Hollywood people talk, I think Call Me Chato
Yes.
is very similar to basically everyone I've ever worked with in the industry.
Right. Hey, we share, well, you've put on some of his videos. We share a lot of similar opinions with him in terms of the reason why content fails, reason why movies fail, what were they thinking doing certain things. And if you are observant enough, Hollywood people, it's not... I think it's really weird that I was canceled so hard about some of my opinions because it's not political. Like, most people in Hollywood, like, we make popular art that the masses can consume. It's a balance between being able to actually make art and make money. Politics does not factor into all of this. And I think it's really fascinating to hear someone else's point of view from a different side of Hollywood, and yet we share so many of the exact same thoughts and feelings. I just say it in a not so PC way.
He doesn't say it in a very PC way either.
Then why do you think people hate me?
Because you're a strong woman.
Oh, is that why?
I think so.
That's unfortunate.
But like for Call Me Chato, it's really cool to see somebody look at the decisions of today and compare them to the decisions of yore, and for somebody who used to work in the same industry back in the day, go like, man, this is what they're thinking. Like, he calls them gutless all the time, the execs. Well, you think we have bad things to say about the current people running show business? Look at this person who used to run show business.
Clearly has... Well, I don't know if he has more experience than me. I assume he does. He's older.
I'm sure he has.
And yet we share so many of the exact same thoughts. So if you think I'm full of shit, I don't know, listen to him and be like, maybe not completely full of shit.
He reviewed Rings of Power, episode 1 and 2. And we don't need to say much because he said a lot of what I was thinking, what you were thinking for us. So yes.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason why we haven't made a commentary on Rings of Power,
I don't want to.
It's such a lukewarm take to be like, it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's so like, what do you want? I'm not gonna outrage at it, and I'm not gonna like praise it.
Hot take though. This story should have centered around the Hardfoots instead of Gwendolyn. What's her name? Galadriel. God, I always mess up. I always think her name is Gwendolyn. Galadriel. Yeah, I think Galadriel's story is super boring. Yeah. But every time the Hardfoot stuff comes, I'm like, this is juicy.
The best.
This is like the best thing about this series so far. And I can see where they're going. It's like, obviously, so if this series is allowed to end, the Hardfoots get to find their promised land, man. The Hardfoots get to find the Shire and become the Hobbits. Yeah. What a cool story. Like, basically the proto-Hobbits, and telling their story about how they came to be, who they used to be. They're always about home, but now, but back in the day, they didn't even have a home.
Right. My take on it is actually, maybe it's more controversial than I think. It's that I feel bad for the show because I can tell there is some amount of thoughtfulness in it. Not a lot, but it exists, which tells me there was probably too many cooks in the kitchen. And some of those cooks had some god-awful ideas that really go against the original source material and the fandom, in a way, and the original Lord of the Rings movies. But there are really great parts of it, too, like the Harfoots. The fact that they're pre-hobbits. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then they're having this whole, like, Iron Giant... E.T. Stranger Things thing, but instead of E.T. 11 or the Iron Giant, it's Gandalf.
Or whoever he is, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Gandalf. Pretty sure he does the whole...
and then the butterflies come. And then the eagles come.
The eagles come. Like,
man who falls from the sky.
very strange. I fake out. We all think it's Sauron or something like that, but it's bearded man wearing gray. I wonder who could that could be. I wonder who that could be.
So what? And on top of that, I think it was really unfair for a lot of the hate to come towards it before it came out about the costuming and stuff, because I was paying attention to that and I was like, I don't know, it's fine. For a TV show, you know, it's no movie or anything, but I was like, I don't know, it's not that bad. So
It's not good.
I felt bad for
the costume.
the costume designers and the visual effects people who seem like they tried at the very, like, this is a job at the very least, and I just kind of felt bad that it got the amount of hate that it got for being mediocre. Again, similar to kind of like Temple, I'm like, it's a mediocre piece of content. Like, does it deserve this amount of rage? Not really. This is a little excessive. So my take is that I just felt bad. I'm not gonna watch it anymore.
I'm done.
Yeah.
After the second episode, I was kind of into it after the first episode. The second episode, I was like, oh, I don't care. I don't care
boring,
about each and every one of
yeah.
you except for the Harfoots.
The worst thing you can do in entertainment is bore me.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna watch it anymore.
Just supercut me in 5 years. What the Harfoots
what
did.
happened? Yeah.
And I'll be good.
If you like this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, jingle all our bells and buttons. Check out these other episodes next to binge all our other episodes, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.